had the bright idea just a couple days ago, why don't we invite some of our favorite professionals and experts to talk with us about health insurance and what that means for your business and how to actually kickstart your health insurance programs. So if you have a planned start date of January 1, or you want to have or offer health insurance options to your employee base starting January 1, now is the time to start really thinking about this information and start talking with a benefit broker about getting your health insurance program kick-started. There is probably a little bit more to it than you think. And so this is going to be a really helpful educational session with these incredible experts, as I mentioned, who I'm going to introduce to you here very soon, and help you just kind of brainstorm and make sure you've got all of your P's and Q's in place and your T's crossed and your I's dotted so we can get you moving in the right direction. I'll tell you, the three of us is really going to arm you with the information you need to kickstart your benefits program now, today. So as you're viewing, make sure you like and share this informational, helpful video. And then also, if you have any questions, comment below, and we'd be happy to answer your questions live if you catch us live, or even if you catch us after this has been recorded. Be sure to still comment those questions because I will still be watching for those questions. And these experts that I'm about to introduce you to will also be popping in and making sure that they are watching for these questions and answering your questions. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce you to some very special individuals. First and foremost, I have Brandy Nunez with Nunez Partners. Her and her husband Leo own and operate this innovative platform and organization in helping small businesses find the right path in their health insurance programs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rihanna. I really appreciate you having me on today. As you said, my husband and I have a boutique agency. We specialize in more what we call alternative healthcare options, right? There's a lot of new and innovative things coming out on the market since ACA went into place, and people are learning there are alternatives that make sense for them. So we have kind of gone that direction to help a lot of small businesses find the things that might make a little bit more sense for them and just give them educational knowledge about what's on the market so they can find the right fit.
Nice.
Chris,
next,
go ahead.
Yeah, next we have Chris with Front Range Insurance Brokers, and he is a traditional health insurance broker and helps you find those traditional plans.
Yes, yeah. Well, me and my wife have been in business almost 2 years now, and we have been agents, and we formed our own company just out of the necessity to be able to offer a broad range of options so that we never have to say no to our clients. We never have to say we can't offer this, we don't have this option. So becoming accredited with almost every major health insurance company in Colorado has been our goal, so that no matter what it is our clients looking for, that we have something to provide.
You know, armed between these two professionals and experts, you are really going to find today's educational session to be extremely helpful because you're going to get a really well-rounded perspective of what's out there in the market and what your health insurance program can do for you. So you guys, I'd really like to just start the discussion and help our viewers understand what exactly is a benefit broker and what do you guys do? Let's start with Brandy. Yeah.
I was going to say, like Chris said, I mean, your insurance broker really is there to be a liaison to help you facilitate and find the right products for your business, for yourself, for your employees. You obviously want to make sure that, you know, they understand that you do care and that, you know, offering a benefit to them is extremely important. But finding the right solution, not always, right? So your benefit broker should be there to help you find the right package within the right price that fits the right needs for you and your employees. And that way they don't have to do all the legwork themselves.
Exactly.
That is so true.
What we're in the business of doing is not just, and a lot of people think an insurance broker is kind of like your home and auto insurance. When it comes to health, the difference is that once we recommend something for a client, we are responsible for administering that. We're responsible for getting them signed up, but also we're responsible for maintaining our clients' relationships, and to some extent, in a much more intimate fashion. We have the option of going over claims and considering things that maybe might be something of responsibility for the Safecos of the world. And in health insurance environment, we are paid by the insurance company to assist in a lot of different forms of care. And what we separate ourselves from when it comes to assisters on the marketplace or people who are trained for Connect for Health is that we are licensed by the state. So we have information and in-depth knowledge of these insurances, which we're required to maintain. We're required to take continued education every single year so that we understand in depth the things that most people are most concerned about. That the lack of information revolving around health insurance is huge. And so we are those people that that guide our clients every step of the way, and then on after they receive the health insurance from us.
You know, as an HR professional, my benefit broker, especially when I was in my former corporate life, when I worked for other people, they were my right-hand man when it came to my benefit programs. They were the ones every August, September, October timeframe who were coming to me saying, okay, this is your current plan. Here are your options. Let's look at this. Let's tweak this. And they were the experts who helped me and led me by the hand. And then as we decided on a plan, they also came in and they helped me execute that plan. They took me by the hand and they said, you know, okay, not only are we going to help you understand what your options are, we're going to help you get your employees enrolled. We're going to help you with those communications. We will come out on site and enroll people if we have to. And then once we get everyone enrolled, when there's a problem, when there's a hiccup, when an employee is in the hospital and we need to understand coverages, or we're not getting the enrollment or the identification cards, or whatever it is, they were always my first line defense. Like, okay, we are having this issue. I can't figure it out. And within, it seems like no matter what, 24 hours, my issue was resolved because of my benefit broker. When you lean on your benefit broker as the expert, they're able to help you facilitate and act as both Brandy and Chris both just said, act as that liaison between you and that carrier. So you don't have to wait on hold with that carrier for 45 hours. So they usually have great inroads to help you manage your plan very effectively. And then as your years progress with that same broker, they get to know your business. They get to know your goals. And each year seems to get better and better. So I'm telling you, if you have a benefits program, you don't want to do this without a broker. It's silly, which kind of leads me into a thought, you know, the benefits of having a benefit program as an HR professional. I've seen this so many times, and, you know, making sure that you've got strong employee health and wellness, loyalty, recruiting. I mean, there's so many things. You guys tell us about some of the successes that you've seen with your clients, and what does that look like as far as why should even a small business offer these type of benefits?
Chris?
Well, what I would say is that when a small business looks at how they can remain competitive, they look at hiring the right people. That is the first step. And in my experience in working with insurance, when it comes to companies, I've had clients that have reached out to me that have wanted to retire from ownership of their business, wanted to pass it on to another executive to take over management, or even just hire an employee that they know is going to be skilled. These employees or these executives, for the most part, if they're good at their job, they know it. And the first thing that they ask for when they go into a position now these days is, what are my benefits? Benefits, the idea of sharing the cost of health insurance is so attractive to people that are working for larger companies especially, that it's the first thing they want to know is, how are my family and me are going to be taken care of by the business? It is the best way to hire quality individuals. And so when you're able to get a package together, not only are you able to get these better hires, but you're also able to find a way to create tax deductions for your business. You're able to have payroll set up so that the clients that are paying for these, or the employees, sorry, in my experience, clients, but the employees are paying for these with pre-tax dollars. It is a benefit to everyone to have their insurance with their company. And for the most part, in an industry where I work with families and individuals and I work with businesses, if an employee has insurance through their business, it is nigh undefeatable by any other insurance I can find on an individual basis. The value is just superior. So it's best for both parties, the employer and the employee.
Absolutely. People want to feel valued. And when they come to work every day, especially if you're in, say, just a labor-intensive job, that can kind of weigh on you after a while. So offering a small incentive for an employee, whether it being anything from a small supplemental option to a full-blown major medical plan, it makes them feel like they actually deserve to be there, right? That you care enough about them to want to protect them, their family, and their money. And so it helps not only attract better talent, which in Colorado Springs, a lot of our small businesses struggle with finding the right people, keeping them, and then obviously it costs way more to re-educate and retrain an employee, what is it, like a third of the annual salary, versus just keeping that person employed, right? So it's about the perceived value that the employee gets out of whatever options there are, right? Even if there's something that may not make sense for the company budget, a small contribution makes that employee feel valued, and then the employee can pick up the additional cost from then out if there's something that makes sense for them and fits their budget. But attracting those good quality employees, retaining those people, having a tax break, especially for a business that's contributing on some level. We have a lot of people right now that because they got the EIDL or the PPP, they're putting things in place. How can I use my money effectively now to put myself in a better place and operate my business more effective and more profitably than I did before COVID, right? So we're able to put some things in place before that employers couldn't do. So it's really important, obviously, to understand what your options are, because as a small business, your employees really are your biggest asset. They are the ones that show up every single day and make that business operate. And if they're not there, there usually is no business. So it's really important to offer them something versus nothing.
Brandy, you bring up a good point, and it seems like nowadays we can't have a conversation without talking about COVID. And I think this is a really great highlight on the needs of a benefit program, because if you look at two different businesses, one business who has a health insurance program in place and another business that doesn't, with the pandemic that we're still in the midst of, if an employee comes down with an illness, it's a lot easier to send them to the doctor and make sure that they're cared for than when you have these plans in place than if you don't, right? Because if you don't have these plans in place, the question marks are out there. Well, how are they going to pay for it? What are they going to do? What if they have to go to the hospital? Who's going to pay for the testing? What does that look and feel like? And wellness is another big piece of a benefit program. Making sure that your employees can come to work because they're not sick. Ensuring productivity to essentially increase profitability for the business.
And that's that's definitely where you've seen a lot of companies moving forward. When it came to COVID, you saw companies like Whole Foods, that their employees were refusing to come to work. They were asking for increased pay. Along those lines, they're also looking for benefits. They want to know if they're going to risk their health to go to work, that they have an employee benefit package that's going to be able to take care of them as well. So if they are sick, if they have disability in place, they can be out of work and not need to worry about losing their financial situation as well as their health.
Absolutely. I say all the time, if I can't pay my mortgage, guess who else is not getting paid? Doctors, right? Mm-hmm. So having something in place, even like a short-term disability policy, where if my employee gets hurt or sick and they can't come to work, it helps them protect that paycheck. Because at the end of the day, if I can't feed my family, pay my mortgage, I don't care how great my insurance is, right? So there are a lot of things that even if a major medical plan doesn't necessarily make sense, you can still offer to protect your people. Because I can tell you right now, the three most important things to everyone, them, their family, their money. So you've got to have something that makes sense for the employee and make them feel value. Absolutely.
Well, you also look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, health is the top. I mean, we have to be healthy in order to meet the needs of any other part and piece of our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so an employer's responsibility, no, not their responsibility, what employees are looking to their employers to do is to help them fulfill that hierarchy of needs. Because let's face it, nobody goes to work just because they want to. They all go
Absolutely.
because they need to. And so they have to.
I don't work for free.
They have to have certain aspects of their life fulfilled in order for it to be a value win-win.
So that's one thing that is important, is when we sit down with clients, I often find that they have a misconception of the importance of health insurance. And it's really, sometimes it's not even their fault. You grow up, and as a young individual, you're meant to feel, you're raised to feel that, okay, you know, if I do such and such, I'm healthy. I feel healthy. I don't need health insurance. I'm young. I can take care of myself. Even if I get COVID, I'm going to be okay. It's not that we go out there and try to scare people, but there is an education that needs to be given about not only emergencies, which everyone understands, but just maintaining your overall peace of mind by having something in place for the unexpected, and knowing that, you know, if something happens to me, my work, whether this be an employer that hires 100,000 people or an employee, everything I've worked for, everything that I've raised my family on, every income that I depend on, all of that is secured, so that if you have a major health incident, you don't lose your finances along with your health. That's a situation that actually I just had happen recently. And one of those situations, I think it's very important to understand. I had a client that I spoke to, I was referred to by a PNC, or a property casualty, which we know is home and auto, came to us and said that my mother needs health insurance. And I said, okay, let's sit down and talk. And we got through the entire process. We were working with her, and I couldn't really tell what was wrong, but the woman obviously seemed distressed. And it got to the point where we were filling out the application. She's like, I need this in place today, the mother. And the daughter and the husband were just very concerned. So we got to the point where we were filling out the insurance, and she had to file for her taxes. She put single file. And then she started to tear up. And it got to the point where she had to take a moment. And it was that point that they explained to me that her husband had passed away on the 21st of this month. And that along with that, all the security of having, you know, your husband with you, having an income as well, not that that was the concern at the time, her health insurance was expiring that day, not even a week. And she was not only losing her husband, losing her financial security, now she was losing the security she had for her own health. And it's something that shouldn't take a situation like that to really understand the benefit of it. And with younger people, they may not see this, oh, it's later in life, but this woman understood. And it's an amazing pleasure to be able to help people in situations like that, get through that, have the knowledge, have the ability to step right in that moment, take care of it that day, and then they can move on with their lives and at least take care of what's important, you know, because this shouldn't be the focus. This should be something you have that is in the background there for you when you need it. But she needed to focus on her life at this point, and we luckily were enabled her to do that.
Good for you, Chris. That's amazing. That's, in order to, you know, helping people through those tough times is what it's all about. And it's unfortunate that she was losing her coverage there in that moment. That's a shame. That is. Brandy,
There are some things this job will never prepare you for. Some of those heartfelt moments are exactly that moment, you know.
Yeah. So, okay, so as employers are starting to consider evaluating whether they should implement a health insurance benefit program, what kind of factors should they be considering? What should they think about?
Well, I can tell you one of the biggest issues right now is finding something that makes sense. I mean, in Colorado Springs, first off, we're a military town. We have a lot of people that have TRICARE or VA benefits. We have a lot of people that have insurance through the exchange. We have people that have insurance for their spouse. So as a small business owner, when I'm looking to implement a plan, first off, I need to find out what is the demand for my staff and how can I help solve their problems and their needs in the right way. Because my people may have, again, maybe I hire veterans. If they're military, they have VA or TRICARE, they may not necessarily need a full-blown major medical plan. But some of the things that we find that they're usually lacking in are dental, vision, and disability, right? They don't get paid for their time off work. Or if my people have nothing, maybe I need to look at a major medical option or what alternatives are on the market. What do my people need? What makes sense for them? And then what budget makes sense for me and for my people? Because as a small business owner, you can absolutely give your employees access to something. But again, if you're willing to put in just a small dollar amount to help them, the value that they feel from that is phenomenal, right? So budget always, of course, is key on top of knowing what actually needs to be in place for your business to protect the people the right way.
I could not agree more with Brandy. That is exactly what needs to be done. There are two kinds of brokers out there. There's the kind of person that will go into a business and present the option they have, that will take care of everything. And that this is what I know, and this is what I sell, and this is what I do. And there are those people that will go into a meeting and say, what do you need? And they will assess their needs and provide something to fit the business's interests. And I 100% agree that it needs to be that approach every single time.
I couldn't agree more. And Brandy, you bring up a really important point that a lot of our viewers need to understand is actually with most plans offering a program through your business, there's actually a minimum enrollee threshold. Do you guys want to talk about that threshold and how many people they actually have to have on board in order to kind of kickstart this process? And then while we're talking about it, let's also talk about some other cues that employers, small businesses should look at in making sure that they're ready to start going down this path.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the first things is actually, like I said, sitting down with your employees and finding out exactly what they need, right? From there, any point in time, you're going to really look at what makes the most sense, because a major medical plan and anything else, they cost totally different, right? So look at, what are my employee ages? How does that all make sense? What do my people need? All of that.
And that's very, very true. Every company has different requirements. Your Humana to your Anthem to any company you have, they're going to have a different required amount of employees. They're going to have a different required amount of participation. Participation is another wonderful factor. It comes into play when you think about how many employees do you have? Okay, that's one thing. Well, how many employees have spousal insurance, have insurance through their partner? Well, okay, that's another. That removes them from the equation. How many of them are on Medicaid or Medicare? That removes them from the equation as well. And as you start to whittle down all of these factors, you think to yourself, okay, how many people are you actually looking to insure? How many people need the insurance? And then you look at that and say, okay, what company will fit the bill for you? And it isn't always going to be a major insurance plan. If you have only a handful of employees, it is going to cost you, and for lack of a better word, an arm and a leg to be able to get a major insurance plan installed. And so sometimes having another form of insurance, which Brandy specializes in, is definitely a better option for them.
Yeah, I mean, like Chris said, once you actually go through and whittle down, what am I looking at? Then you can really go, what makes sense for my people? Because with a major medical plan, you don't have the buying power when you're a small man group. If you have, say, 5 employees or so, you don't have the competitive advantage that you would if you had, say, 25, 50 employees, whatever it is. We can work with individuals. I know Chris can as well, but for our businesses, a lot of our businesses are 3 to 5 employees. That's where we start. So if I have 5 employees, there's certain things that I can offer that fit that. If I have just 3 employees, there's certain things that I can offer that fit that. And again, that's where I start. Again, anything above that, obviously, it unlocks the doors for a lot of things. Until I actually analyze what I'm working with, I can't just say, hey, I need insurance. Well, that's great. Half my people don't need it. So until you really look at what you're offering, offerings can be based off of what your employee demand is and what what they already have in place. You don't really know who you can be working with. They all require different things, but there's a lot of things we can also do on an individual basis. You may not save that much money because, obviously you get discounted rates if you can do it through payroll, but maybe it's one of those things that my employees, I only have 2 or 3 people and, maybe it's just better for them to source something on their own. Yeah. That's okay. We can still as brokers work with them, just because you can't necessarily offer it through your business doesn't mean your employees can't have access.
Exactly.
You guys, I'm feeling so inspired by this conversation. So I know I prepped you guys on a whole bunch of talking points, but I'm going to kind of take a quick little diversion here. So when I first started my career, pretty much there were 2 options in the market, your PPOs and your HMOs, right? And then ACA came into effect, which is the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, for most of you folks who want to just hear that general terminology. Anyways, that came around and that really forced the market to create some very creative options on the market. And Brandy specializes in super creative options on the market, but also Chris with Major Medical, it's really expanded over the few years as far as creative options and how you can laser focus the needs of the organization and build a plan that really meets the needs of the organization. Do you guys want to talk about some of the creative options out there that these small business owners really should be considering as they're talking with people?
Well,
Yeah,
Randy,
absolutely.
I'm excited to kind of share your stuff out there.
Well,
And then,
I'll tell you kind of how I got started actually in insurance, because it's the last thing I thought ever I would wind up in, because I am not a fan of insurance people. So I operate my business completely different. The reason being is whenever we had insurance, we had the option HMO PPO, right? So we paid more money to have a PPO plan with lower deductibles. My husband got sick, spent 5 days in the hospital, and our out-of-pocket with our major medical was over $10,000. And 5 years later, that bill still shows up in my mailbox. At the time, we did not look at anything additional for education, right? It was the same story every year. Hey, guess what, guys? Open enrollment's here. Nothing's changing, but price is going up, right? And we would sign away a few extra $100, and then it's like, hey, does anybody want to talk to this other guy that's here to talk about other insurance things? Absolutely not. I'm out of here. I don't want to spend any more money. I've got insurance. I'm good, right? We call it the major medical myth, right? Because, yeah, you have insurance until you actually have to go use it, and then you're not prepared for the out-of-pocket costs associated with it, right? Mm-hmm. So aside from that, we found out what supplemental insurance options were and how that would have protected us. And it actually would have protected us more if we would have invested that $100 more a month that we were paying for the PPO into that, right? Versus having the PPO plan. So we learned the hard way. And so my husband and I launched our business 3 years ago, originally starting off with supplemental options, because again, if I can't pay my mortgage, it doesn't matter how great my insurance is. And then from there, we've branched off into other things. And it's just a matter of learning what's available to you, right? Like direct primary care, huge fan of direct primary care. I have it myself. It's essentially what I call like a gym membership to the doctor. You can pay a flat dollar amount every month whenever you go in. And then obviously, if you have labs, x-rays, things like that, there are additional fees, but it's a great way to have a cash pay direct primary care option for 90% of what you're worried about being treated for, right? Things like that start at like $79 a month. There are, I know, 5 different companies in Colorado Springs that offer it, right? So we added that on as an additional option because most people are worried about, they get insurance for the cold, the flu, the sniffles, right? Well, I got insurance because I'm going to go to the direct primary care twice a year for my flu shot or whatever it is, my flu exam, those kind of things. But on top of that, what happens if I have a major trauma, right? Direct primary care is not my solution. So you can look at things like medical cost sharing, which are similar. They're not insurance. None of them are insurance in the traditional sense. But what it is, you're still responsible for an initial unshareable amount when you have a medical need. So say my initial unshareable amount is $2,500. I'm responsible as the patient paying my $2,500 just like I would if I had a deductible with major medical. And then anything above that is cost shared through our medical community, through the medical cost sharing community, right? So I work with 2 different services that are medical cost sharing. They have over, I know one of the services has over 13,000 people enrolled in it just in the United States. So when you're talking about a pool of 13,000 people that are all helping share their medical needs, it keeps the cost down, and you're separating your cold, flu, sniffles from your big catastrophic stuff, right? So like I looked at the exchange for my husband and I just to kind of see what things are running right now. And it was like $650 a month just for us when I can have a medical cost sharing program for like $250. You know, so it's a significant savings, but it's not meant for everyone. If you have pre-existing conditions, they're not fully covered in the beginning. You know, so there's things that we need to have a conversation about off your general health to make sure that we find the right fit for you. But I had a conversation with one of my businesses the other day, and I asked him, I said, you know, who's cut the cord to cable? And, you know, the employees are like, oh, yeah, I have, because it was really expensive, and I didn't watch half the stuff. And I was like, well, what do you have now? Well, now I have, you know, Prime, and I have Netflix, and Hulu, and Disney Plus. So I have more, and I pay less. And I was like, great. That's pretty much what we're doing with your employee benefits, right? So you can piecemeal and customize different packages together that make sense, and it can reduce your overall cost and give you really great things that help protect your people, right? But again, it may not be the right fit for your business. Maybe you need something like a major medical ACA compliant plan, right? We do offer a self-funded option, but I don't offer the traditional sense that Chris does, right? I specialize in a lot of the alternative options, like you said, the more creative stuff. Because I want to find a solution that makes sense for employees. And if my small businesses could afford medical insurance, they'd already have it. You know, that's the problem. They'd love to do something and it's not in their budget. So what makes sense? So instead of giving them the cookie cutter package, we customize it out what makes sense for your people. We can do bits and pieces or the whole thing. So it's just a really great way to customize and build an amazing program for your employees without it breaking your bank or theirs, and giving them something that shows that you care.
That's great. I just love what you guys are doing, but I also love what the major medical plans are doing too to make health coverage more affordable right now. Chris, do you want to talk about what you guys are doing on the major medical side, what you're seeing, what the new trends are, and what people should consider in addition to what Brandy just educated us on?
So we started out actually in a working for an individual company, and with them, we had a number of options. And like Brandy highlighted explicitly, not everybody fits into one little square. Not everybody fits into a single company. So being able to create and customize and blend different programs together, as long as, of course, and we both diligently do this, explain to the client how to utilize what we're giving them. It's like, I mean, it's akin to those that the coupon versus those that don't coupon. You know, the people that go out there and literally are able to find every single way to shop around, or they surf Amazon here and there, and they look and they say, okay, what costs the least? How can I get this the fastest? Does this meet my needs? Versus the people that go on to the website and just say, I'd like to buy this, and just buy it. Go and pay full price. There is a reason for both. And I find that when we started trying to fit everybody into one box, we ended up doing a disservice. It really was a disservice to people. We ended up finding these people had needs that we couldn't meet, so we were turning away clients. So as we decided to get ourselves into a position to offer major medical, the first thing we had to do is tackle the ACA. What happened with the Affordable Care Act? I've literally given talks and conversations in a multitude of networking groups and forums about the ACA and what I learned. And again, it is a perspective built of a lot of literature and talks and public forums and political forums about the Affordable Care Act and the transformation it's had on the system. And essentially what it boils down to is, like a lot of individual options out there, there's still a lot of companies that do underwriting. There's a benefit to this. This is how an insurance company is able to secure themselves against the financial hardship of covering things that they're just not designed to or do not want to be able to cover, so that they can afford appropriate costing premiums to all their clients. What we call a health pool. Every insurance company has a health pool. And that health pool determines the cost of insurance essentially, because however healthy these individuals are, usually equates to the claims that they have, and usually equates to the amount the money the insurance company is paying, and that equates to the amount of the premium. And so when you have a major medical company, and anyone you could name that's on the marketplace right now, the Connect for Health marketplace, they are now in a position where they, between November and January 15th of every year, can no longer essentially do underwriting to the extent that they used to. They cannot hold a person's health conditions against them. This exposes them to a lot of financial risk. They are taking on people that previously they were able to underwrite and say, I'm sorry, we can't take you, and now they don't have that choice. And it seems like, oh, well, that's going to be this terrible situation for the insurance company. And it is. It was hard for them. We have seen the results of that since 2014's complete implementation. We have seen a static or a continuous rising health insurance cost. And it has been hard for any healthy individual out there looking for an insurance plan for their family that does have only certain means to be able to afford it. But then you have to take into consideration what the ACA did. It did allow someone who had cancer, who had an illness, a diagnosis of diabetes, to have health insurance, whereas every other company would deny them. They allowed them to get into a program that benefited their family. And it also created a space for low-income families to get health insurance. I, just the other day, had a 22-year-old client making only about $33,000 a year, being able to get into an insurance plan for less than $100 a month, a major medical insurance plan. And guess what? They are very cookie cutter as required by the Affordable Care Act. It put into place a set of requirements and said, this is what these insurances need to cover. But they added They added mental health benefits. They added things that insurance has before neglected to cover. Now these people who have depression and anxiety, one of the most prevalent health conditions that I'm sure we both find, is now covered. And they can get this insurance in an affordable place. They have a max out of pocket, a max liability that they can be held to. Think of a retiree that's 60 years old, 5 years from Medicare. They've worked their entire life. They're finally retiring. They have this huge nest egg that they are now going to live off of through proper investments and all of this. A max out of pocket says, okay, this is my liability no matter what happens to me, to the extent of my insurance and what it will cover for the year. That is a security that is hard to match. And we do our best to form whatever option a client wants. But when it comes to these max out of pockets, sometimes that's all clients looking for is, I want to limit my liability. And that's really what we've been able to help clients find when we do go to major medical, as we do work in a lot of different fields of insurance, health insurance, major medical policies. That's what people love most about them, is that peace of mind.
That's wonderful. So as small business owners and even individuals start wrapping their head around all of these options, all of these considerations, and they're going down the path of, okay, I'm ready. What do they need to do in order to go to the market and get their coverage rolling in the right direction?
Connect with a good insurance broker.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a variety of things, right? Everything from, finding the right thing that makes the right sense. You've got to find somebody that offers a variety of products or is willing to say, hey, this is not the right fit for me. Maybe you need to talk to someone else. And I've got a great person that I partner with and can refer you over to them so there can be a solution for you, right? You've got to look at what your budget is, right? You've got to look at health and the quality of general life of your people, and all of those things, right? There's a variety of things that you really have to look at, but it really starts with knowing the right person and not hopping on Google and just trying to find an insurance person. There are a lot of people out there that will just sell you stuff to sell you stuff. Exactly. You've got to find good people that will actually steer you the right direction. So it's really crucial to find people in your local community. Go out and ask some other small business owners what they have in place and who they're using, right? Word of mouth is amazing. Don't just seek it out on your own.
No doubt. Chris, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Well, again, completely agreeing with every single thing Brandy says, because we've talked on many occasions and we find that we're both in that same space where I don't enjoy, for the most part, doing Zoom conversations. It's a necessity in our day and age. But in all honesty, nothing is as impactful as having a personal conversation with somebody who knows the industry like we do, and not only being able to assess what the needs of the client are, but also help them understand what they need by giving them information and them going, wow, I didn't even know this existed. Maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is what, when you go onto the internet, you are going to find the same exact formula every single time. Exactly like what Brandy said, you're going to have someone who sells a product who's going to tell you, this is what you need. This is what I sell and this is what I'm offering. Or you're going to put your name into a website and you're going to get 1,000 of those people calling you every single day for the next several months. I mean, anyone who's ever done mortgage shopping will tell you it's a bombardment of information. And it's like going onto Facebook and trying to get the news. It isn't the way you do it. You don't go and filter it through. You go to the source who has the best information, who has the best knowledge. And in your local community, you're going to find plenty of those people. So why not meet them in person? Have a cup of coffee. Talk to them, get to know them, create a relationship first. Because that's what should exist before we even talk about insurance is, do you like me as a person? Do you even want to work with me as a person? Because everything else I say is going to be filtered through whether I am a quality individual or not.
Chris, you don't get your news from Facebook?
No.
What?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I get my TikToks and the Instagrams and all those pictures. I get that through Facebook and all those social medias. But I personally don't participate in anything other than Facebook for the
I don't know,
simple
man.
fact
I'm
is,
on Facebook all the time
Yeah.
just shopping for healthcare, you know.
yeah, it's shopping for healthcare.
Right.
I mean, at the same time, we do need to understand the power of Facebook and being able to
Yes.
market and find people from there and put them into a position where they're connected to you, so they don't go out there and trip over some company that doesn't have their best interest in mind. It's important, but the source of the information is important, especially when it comes to your health insurance.
Very, very true. Hence why we're here on Facebook right now. You guys are getting true, good, accurate information right here, right now with HR branches, Front Range Insurance Brokers, and Nunez Partners. So although you might not be able to rely on the news on Facebook, you can rely on us. So there's a little plug. Like that, guys?
Always here to help.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I use Facebook as my entire source of media. That's only social media that I prescribe to. And it's
good for you. There's so many channels to keep up with. So most of the time, from my experience, the very first time I engage any type of insurance, health insurance broker, the first thing that they ask me for is a census. What the heck is that, guys?
It's really just a basic spreadsheet that contains employee information so we can accurately make sure we understand who you have working for you so we can quote things correctly. It would include things like the employee's name, maybe their address or zip code that they live in, their date of birth, if they do have dependents, what those dependents' ages are, things like that. It's just a way for us to collect as much information as we possibly can so we can understand exactly what we need to look at and what we can offer. And again, that's something that your insurance broker should be providing to you as a template that you can complete. Or if you're great and you have QuickBooks, you can print one out. But it doesn't always have all the information. So a lot of times I just provide it to my client so I can make sure that I get as much as I need and it's accurate.
And let's make this very clear. No matter what broker you talk to here, folks, you cannot get a quote without a census. I don't know how many times I've had conversations with individuals like, well, can't they just send me a quote? Why do I have to give them so much information? Why is this important? Every detail on that census is extremely important. So as you're talking with your broker, don't be shocked when they ask for a whole slew of information on your employee base. And if you don't have that compiled, start wrapping your brain around compiling this information. You should have this information stored somewhere, whether it's in a paper file or electronically. Your payroll system generally can pull a decent amount of this information and export it for you. If not, you may have to do it by hand and you may have to invest some time, but the census is a big part and piece of this. So I just wanted to highlight that so people aren't thrown off. Yes, any good broker should provide you with a template. I have come across brokers who don't provide those templates. I would question what their available tools and resources are beyond that. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, again, we are here to guide and facilitate from the beginning, everything from the education piece through the execution and the administration of it. So you should not have a lot of questions, and if you do, you should be able to contact your person directly, but they should be providing you, if they're a good agent, with the information so you can get it back to them as effectively and efficiently as possible.
A lot of what we focus on in our business is trying to eliminate as many steps as possible. I mean, and I'm sure from an HR perspective, you could agree, you don't want to have too much information moving back and forth over multiple emails. You want to be able to get what you need from a client as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, so you save them time. You increase the security of everything that you're doing, and you're just able to get a faster response from us. And so a census essentially compiles all that information, and then we're able to go ahead and do effectively almost any insurance quote from that. And so you're not needing to go back and ask for, I mean, generally in a census, you're not needing to know social security numbers. You're not needing to know a lot of private information. An insurance company does not need that until you file for the actual applications for it. And so try and keep it minimal as well.
So you get the census submitted. And then once the client gets the census submitted to you, what kind of process can they generally expect?
Well,
Chris?
if you're going to go for a group policy, you have your census and you submitted it, the next step would be the insurance broker getting to work and going to find out which company, based on the needs of the company, the size of the company, everything that, not just in the census, but in the conversation you've had with your client, which company is going to fit the bill. Then you take it from which company to which policy. Now, when you take that census in, you can gather mostly from the industry and the amount of money that the employees are making and the amount that the employer is willing to contribute, what kind of policies are going to be feasible for them. Now, you have in the ACA, and you have your bronze, you have your silver, you have your gold, and in some cases, platinum. These all equate to a whole different selection of things. If I was to go to a company and just go ahead and shop all gold quotes, that employer would be paying a lot of money if they're paying 50% of that bill. And clients are going to say, well, I don't even want to get into this insurance because it's way too expensive. So it is important to then look into the companies and say, what's a bronze plan cost? What's a silver plan cost? How is this going to translate after contributions to what the employee is going to pay? Is this something that's feasible? If you've done your homework as a broker, you already know the answer to that. And then you collect these quotes, you send them to the company, and you arrange another time to sit down and explain them in detail. Otherwise, you might as well have just sent them to shop for insurance for themselves. They're looking at a bunch of numbers and a bunch of categories, and how does that translate into value? That's what we need to do next.
Absolutely. You nailed it. And yeah, never data dump. I am not a fan of data dumping anyone because one, most people are not going to take the time to go through it. And if they do, they don't understand what they're looking at. They are not the specialists, right? They are the auto shop owner, the HR company, the whoever, right? That's their lane. Insurance is not, right? So you should, as a broker, sit down and explain, here's the options I found that made sense. What do you think is going to be the best fit based off of this? Here's what we can offer to your people. Because people don't know what a co-insurance necessarily is. They go, hey, my deductible's $5,000 plus 20%. And they're like, okay, cool, $5,000. It's like, well, what's the 20%? So there's all these things that people don't necessarily understand about insurance these days. And until you explain it, they don't know what they're really getting themselves into. I have that conversation with people a lot when, this is what you have, and I'll help them read it. And they're like, I didn't realize that's what I was getting myself into. Yes. It's very, very important to educate your people to the best of your ability and theirs to understand it on what you've just put in place or what you're suggesting they put in place.
That's so true. And it's helpful. I mean, I've been working in health insurance plans as an HR professional for 20 years. And there are times when I open up plans and I'm still like, what the heck am I looking at? What does that mean? And it's always nice to have that expert in your back pocket to say, oh yeah, let me explain this to you in English. So you can just basically understand it, because then you as the employer, you have to take that information, understand it, then filter it onto your employees, because you are essentially going to be that first line. Oh, Brandy, she's got her finger up.
As a business owner, you should never be educating your people on insurance. You are not the specialist. You should always have your broker come in and sit down with your people to educate them on what you're offering. The minute anyone says insurance, employees will shut down. They're like, oh, it's going to be super expensive. Until they understand the true value of what you're offering, which takes a professional to explain, they will not be excited about talking about it. So
it's exactly
I always
the same,
encourage my business owners, like, I get it. You want to talk to your people. I get all that. But if they don't properly understand it, it's no benefit to them anyway. You need to let somebody like Chris or myself come in and execute that for you. So and then we can answer.
Do employees
They're not going to have
direct communication with you? If they have questions about their benefit program, can they just call you guys directly and leave the business owner out of it?
They literally have my cell phone number.
Yeah. If the owner is happy with letting that happen, yeah. Of course, we want to make sure that the employer knows that we're talking with their employees. How would you prefer this process to go, and how would you prefer our relationship to exist? I've had employers that have stated, I would like to have everything filtered through me. More micromanaging, more hands-on employers. I've had employers say, you know what, I trust you. You can talk to any of my employees about anything as long as any decision is made with me involved. Makes perfect sense. But what Brandy's saying is exactly like if we were to start talking about tax deductions, we are insurance brokers. We have the general idea and be able to help you find someone, but your accountants and your tax person would be the one to discuss about how payroll is going to work and all of that. We're connected to it, but we're no means specialists in that department, and we like to operate within the circles of where our license allows us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you bring up a really important point, Chris. The benefit broker is a wonderful resource in being that liaison between the carrier and the employee base, making sure that that plan is properly enrolled and executed and administered, right? However, there are a few things on the back end that you do have to consider. Payroll being one especially. How do you connect those dots? Working with your payroll company, administrator, whatever, however you have your payroll set up, because you have to create those payroll deductions out of that paycheck and that payroll process. So make sure you think about that conversation and how to administer and facilitate that process. In addition, there are tax benefits that you want to consider. And you know what? I hear my husband, he's a CPA. I'm going to put him on the spot and call him in here and see.
Get Brian in there.
Yeah. CPAs are our best friends when it comes to connecting the employer to the other part of the benefit of having employer group insurance.
Absolutely. I love my CPAs.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you come over here, bend over, say hi.
Hello.
Hey, Brian.
How are we doing, sir?
About health insurance and the benefits. On the tax end, what do our viewers need to consider when having a benefit health insurance program? There are tax benefits, right?
Yes, there's definitely tax benefits if it's structured properly, which is very important. So, and if it's not structured properly, you could cost yourself thousands and thousands in taxes every year. So you definitely need to work directly with a broker and with a CPA.
How soon should they be involved in the process?
Right away.
Immediately.
Never do your own book.
Yeah.
So right away, so make sure you contact your CPA so we can make sure that they're involved in that that communication as well. So, all right.
Yes.
And I'm sure the tax benefits and the tax savings is dependent upon the plan, the structure, and so it's not just like a standard 35%.
Yes, it definitely depends on your individual situation
All right.
and what's appropriate.
And that's a factor on tax returns and all of that.
Could be factored into W-2s, could be factored into a tax return, and if you're an employer providing a employer plan. So it depends. It's my favorite answer in 2020.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Off the hook.
Love y'all.
Bye. I love him. He's so fun.
All right, so if you don't have your CPA on speed dial, you'll wish it. No matter what financial decision you make, and Brian just drove that one home. Anyways, so the other thing I really want to touch on is HIPAA. There's a big consideration. A lot of people think HIPAA is primarily associated to like hospitals and your relationship with your doctor and your private medical information there. But when you're dealing with health coverage and your employer, there's a HIPAA component there that you need to be aware of, especially the monitoring and maintaining of those files. So from an HR standpoint, you never commingle your benefit enrollment forms with your standard employee files. You should always have a medical file that's on the side. It's completely separated from your standard personnel file. And this file, we usually suggest that you order files that are a different color. Our favorite color for medical files is blue because of that association. But you put all of those enrollment forms for each employee into their medical file. And then you can also include like doctor's notes, insurance, like life insurance, Aflac insurance, dental, vision, all of that. Any type of FMLA request, ACA, or ACA, I already said that, ADA request, anything that's medically, because HIPAA you have to be hyper aware of and make sure that all of that information is lasered out. In addition, when working with your broker, you have to be extremely aware of how you transmit information back and forth between your broker. Again, this is legally protected information. And oh my goodness, I don't know how many people I've heard of, well, I just sent that enrollment form via email. I want to scream and cry every time I hear that. So you guys, do you guys want to talk about safe and secure ways to transmit information back and forth between the two of you?
Absolutely. I know a lot of the carriers that we work with, a lot of our stuff is online. So we don't necessarily have to do paper forms where there's a paper trail. So we either if I had to use paper, I would be sitting knee to knee with my person. Like literally knee to knee, filling it out with them, collecting it personally and transmitting it back to my office where then it would be secured and locked in the safe, right? Or in a file cabinet, somewhere where it's secure. Or shredded after the application is submitted, you know, depending on what your situation is. But anything personal that you would never post on the internet, you should not be sending through an email. I'm not going to put my social or any of my, you know, health information out there for people to know about. Birthdays, obviously, I can put that on Facebook. That's totally fine. But if it's anything that has your personal information, it should be either transmitted through a secure system. If it is online, sent directly knee to knee with your person physically transmitted, or we actually use fax. We literally still use fax back and forth right now for a lot of our stuff.
So for us, when we looked into how we were going to organize and protect the information that we collected, because we do have clients that are younger and that they are in interest of doing everything electronically. We have other clients that are interested in doing everything on paper. And we, of course, are in an age where that's not necessary all the time, but there are times where it does have to happen. We do have some files where we need to store them locally. So we consulted with somebody who actually did the security for the Air Force Academy. And he kind of blew our mind with the kinds of things when we were starting our business that we would have to tackle that we'd never perceived before. Personal information is so important to us, and being able to privately be able to give that information to those who do have and should have access to it, and make sure that those who aren't supposed to don't. So we carry everything around with us on a personal basis if we are going to be sending someone something, or we have it in a closed network with a backup that is not accessible to anyone outside of us personally going to it. So we don't want anything accessible on the internet. You don't want someone being able to log into any device in which we have this information. And so that's what we've done, so that if someone does want to transmit information and they do want to do it in an alternative way where the liability is on us, we make sure everything's fully encrypted, everything's fully secure, and any network it's stored on is a closed network. It's a lot more intensive than we ever intended it to be. But when you're dealing with companies and you're dealing with individuals and families and every variety of health, you meet people that have different needs. And so we try and make ourselves accessible to everyone.
Well, you guys, we're coming up on that hour mark. And so I just want to kind of do a quick little cleanup and make sure that we've covered all of our bases. Is there any important topics or pieces of information that we haven't addressed, or any administration or thoughts, tips, any last pieces of information we should get out there to our viewers today?
Chris, I'll let you go first.
Well, in all honesty, what we want to do is be able to let people know that the typical relationship you may have with insurance, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be living in the dark, constantly wondering if what you have is helping you, it is there for you, it does meet your needs. You should have someone in your corner that represents you and is able to work with you and able to take on all of these unknowns and be able to bring you more into the light of understanding what your insurance does, what options are available, how can we best secure your family, because at the end of the day, the idea is to create peace of mind. And we can't do that through a lack of knowledge or transparency. So having your own personal broker, especially someone locally who you can sit down and talk with, it just creates a bond that that most people don't have with their insurance or their broker. We want to be able to have that with you, and it's available. It doesn't need to be a difficult process that that makes it inaccessible to you, or that leaves you in a position where you'd rather not have health insurance than have to deal with the difficulty of acquiring it. So that's our goal at the end of the day.
Brandy, how about you? What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, along the lines of what Chris said, find a good broker. I mean, insurance is overwhelming. It's a lot of knowledge. I totally get it. I was the same way before I got in the industry, right? But I found a passion because of my lack of knowledge, right? So my key is always educating and making sure that my clients fully understand what they have, because no benefit is a benefit if you don't know how to use it, right? You really need to find somebody that you like, that you want to partner with, that you trust, that will help facilitate your business and your needs in the right way. But just because it is overwhelming and a little scary doesn't mean it has to be. You know, there are available options on the market. There are things that will be within your budget, and there are things that your employees need, whether they think they're covered fully or not. So at the end of the day, you really need to have the discussion just in general to make sure that you're not doing a detriment to your employees by not offering them something.
So true. So I'm sure everybody out there in Facebook La La Land is wondering, how in the world can they get a hold of you guys if they need to talk with you about their benefit programs? Brandy, I'm a fan of ladies first, so we're going to start with you.
Hey, gender equality, man. No, you can reach me at 719-964-6690. You can also reach me at Brandy with a Y at newnesspartners.com. And you can find us online, obviously, facebook.com/newnesspartners or newnesspartners.com. Super easy. I'm sure if you Google, you'll find us.
Chris, how about you?
Well, for us at the Front Range Insurance Brokerage, our website is fribrokerage.com. From there, you can get access to all of our phone numbers, cell phone numbers, contact information, emails, anything you might need to get a hold of us. You can also ask to do a consultation and give some minimal information that we will be able to use to contact you and set up a time to discuss insurance. So we look forward to working with any of you.
Fantastic. Everybody, we were here live with Chris Vinge and Brandy Nunez with a Y. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for hanging in there with us and taking a moment to learn this really important information. Again, I am posting right now in the comments contact information for both Chris and Brandy. If you have any questions, reach out to them. Reach out to me. It doesn't matter one way or another. We will get you to the people you need to contact and get you the information that you need. Also, if you have any questions now or in the future, post comments below. We can go ahead and answer those questions straight through the comment feed. Also, if you haven't already, I have tagged both businesses, Nunez Partners and Front Range Insurance Brokerage, in the comments below. Be sure you go out there and like their pages and stay up to date with the information. They're really great about flowing information out and making sure that their client base and audience is informed. Again, I'm Rihanna Werner with HR Branches, and thank you so much for joining us today.